Yeah, I've got a little bit of an issue. We'll call this a review of sorts. Um, my diesel, I've been meaning to do a review of this truck since right after I got it. Because y'all know that I'm a Chevy guy at heart. And a few people gave me flack over buying a Dodge. So, those of you that gave me flack, here's my honest opinion about the truck. And it may not be a popular one. I don't really care. This is what I feel based on what I've encountered just in the short time that I've owned this truck. This is what happens when you're trying to open a box and you don't have a proper pocket knife or box cutter. I bought this truck back in October. I want to say October. Yeah, it was October. And at the time, I paid $9,000 for it. Book value on this truck was $14,000. So I felt like I kind of did okay with it. I think just be fair, I can still sell it right now for 14. It's got 174,564 miles on it. Now, if you think that's a lot, in diesel, that's not. It really isn't. Most diesels, you don't have to worry about any of them, really, unless you're driving a Ford, until they reach around 300,000 miles, because that's when the troubles start if they're not taken good care of. Now, this particular truck has been taken good care of. Not necessarily by me, because I haven't owned it all that long, but the guy that it was repossessed from took fairly decent care of it. Now, the problem that I've got is this would be, well, let's call this an honest review, honest car guy review, because that's essentially what this is. The Dodge does not know how to build a good truck. I'm just putting that out there. These trucks themselves suck. The way they're put together sucks. The fact that the truck is 12 years old and it's got a you can't find parts for it anymore. I can't put a keyless entry on this thing unless I go aftermarket, which is stupid. Trying to think of all the different things that have just annoyed the fire out of me with these things. Can't put keyless entry on it without rebuilding the dash. Basically, can't put keyless start or remote start on it without rebuilding the dash. Tried to find some of the OEM parts for it. They're not available. So basically, if you've got one of these trucks, you're screwed. Unless somebody happens to have new old stock parts laying around somewhere handy for you, you're not fixing these trucks. And if you go to the Dodge dealership, otherwise known as the stealership, because they will rob you blind, it's going to cost you a small fortune to fix up one of these trucks. And I'm sure they've already factored that in. And that's the reason they quit making the parts. The OEM won't make any more parts for it. Then all you've got is aftermarket. And aftermarket's going to jack you right up. Because while aftermarket you can buy some aftermarket parts and they're okay. They're not real bad. Until the original equipment people stop making it, and then the aftermarket jacks right up, and they'll stick it to you at every turn. So basically, because of that fact, these trucks are crap. Now with the GM, their diesels are just about as bad. They quit making the parts just like everybody else right at 10 years. And you've got to go with aftermarket. The difference is that with GM, there's enough aftermarket there because it's GM and because they sell so many vehicles. There's enough of an aftermarket there that you don't necessarily have to go buy like a whole parts truck for later. So there's that. But the stuff on this truck tears up so doggone easy. It ain't even funny. I mean, it's just ridiculous how quick some of the things tear up on them. And it's all because it's just made of cheap plastic, like any other vehicle. But then for them to not have replacement parts, I mean, you have to go to aftermarket to get anything. And like I said, the aftermarket, they jack you right up. Sorry, I was going to replace my lights up here because they've gone out already. Those cheap Chinese LEDs that I put in, I'm just toasted. I'm going to have to, I got a decent set that I put in the Escalades, and they're actually still working just fine. These things, I had it on one night for 10 minutes straight, the one bulb on this side, riding down the road into town, and it burned out. Just for giggles, I clicked the other one on, and it worked fine for another 15 minutes, and then it died. So, I'm not expecting these other 3 bulbs back here to last very long either. But the good thing is, 3 kits. One for this truck and one for each of the Escalades. Well, actually, I bought 4 kits. Um, and the ones in the Escalades are fine. And they actually had extra bulbs in them. So what I'm going to do is take one of the sets of extra map light bulbs and the LED bulbs and put them in here. But yeah, I'm not real fond of these because everything's made out of cheap plastic. Half the time the stuff doesn't fit well together. It's a pain in the neck to get anything out of it. The stereo, it fits in the dash, but it sucks. I don't listen to the stereo partly because I like listening to that turbo just whistle as I drive down the road. To me, that's entertaining enough on most days. But when I do turn the stereo on, it sucks. I mean, there's no, I don't know. I've tuned it like I would any other radio. Almost no bass, high on the mid-range, high on the treble, and it's just like a dead sound. Like my Tahoe, for example. I turn the stereo on in the Tahoe, and you're surrounded by nice, deep, rich sound. Of course, I put it together that way. And it's got 4,500 watts of everything in it. My Escalade, the white one, it came that way. It's got the factory Bose stereo in it. And it sounds great. The one in here, 2 back speakers are blown. Of course, I haven't done anything to this yet. That is one of my upcoming goals, is to replace the stereo in here with an aftermarket. Of course, finding one that'll fit in that little spot, I don't know. I think I can do it because it looks like just a normal double din stereo, but I really don't know. But everything in here is so doggone cheaply made. One thing I did figure out, though, little cup up next to the dash on the right hand side of my little console, I guess you call it a console. It just sits on the floor. It's a cup holder, basically. The one cup up next to the dash is where you put your four-wheel or your stick shift if you've got a manual truck. Now, I like the automatic, but automatics in these trucks have a lot of problems. So when this one starts giving me problems, I'm going to swap it out. Now, how much trouble that's going to be, who knows? But I want to do it professionally, put the pedal, the shifter, the code in the computer, to where I'm able to run it like a normal person, normal 5-speed or 6-speed transmission. I'd like to have 4-wheel drive in it too. And there's another little pocket here where the actual 4-wheel drive lever would come up out of the floor. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to put some more aggressive tires on the back of this and just call it a day. I don't really take it mudding or anything unless you call coming down my driveway mudding, which there are days. But basically, the long and short of it with this truck is it's a great motor. The Cummins motor, beautiful motor. I love the way it runs. Not lots of power, Not a whole lot of hiccups or I don't know. It just goes. I mean, I haven't had any issues with the motor itself at all. Um, Now I do have issues with the wiring and the electrical, but that's not the Cummins fault. That's the Dodge fault. Dodge does not know how to make a good truck. I'm sorry. They look nice. I'll give them that. I actually like this look. But they don't know how to build a truck worth a dang. Um, they're not very solid. The interiors are, of course, you're going to get plastic with every truck. I mean, that's standard. They've all got plastic on them now. My Escalade does. Um, but the difference is this is plastic that dries up real fast and gets brittle and cracks real fast. There's no sense in that. You can build a truck better than that. Make it a little thicker plastic. Make it out of a little better plastic. And I mean, I'm worried about just any day now trying to take one of these plastic dash panels off and the whole thing just crumbling in my hand. That's how bad it is. Where I would get into one of my Escalades and take the dash apart and not worry a bit about it. I do like the fact that this thing has got plenty of power outlets. There's a cigarette lighter adapter or a cigarette lighter outlet on the driver's side, a power outlet adapter on the passenger side, another power outlet adapter in the little what they call the desk here, this middle console, the middle seat. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I remember there being one in the back also. Although I can't feel it right now. No, there's not. That's in the Escalades. So see. But another thing I do like is that the way they hook these trucks up in the back. Because it's got, and I don't know if the person that owned this before did this or if it's just the way these trucks come. But in the bed, there's two 7-pin blade connectors for your lights and turn signals. So if you're hauling a fifth wheel, which this one does have a ball for, you got two different places to plug in. Right next to the fifth wheel. Actually, it's on the side next to the fifth wheel, and then one clear at the back of the bed on the driver's side. And then of course there's another 7-pin connector on the bumper next to the trailer hitch. And I have no problem with those. Those work beautifully. Never had an issue. But everything inside, I mean, I haven't had any real issues with the truck yet, thank goodness, other than the dash. Now, that dash was stupid. There's no reason in the world that taking the lens off that dash should have caused every one of those needles to pop off of there and have me have to send off to get it repaired by somebody in New Jersey. And the guy did a great job, and he was real good, followed up with me and everything, made sure it was all working like it was supposed to. Even wanted me to do a video showing it working, which I kind of did, but then it quit, and then it came back on, and I haven't done one since. Of course, I got all new LED lights to put in the dash too. Right now they're still the incandescent bulbs, and half of them aren't making contact on the main board on the console like it should. Well, these people, they took and cut the highway out here off and routed it out another way. And everybody thinks this is a doggone racetrack all of a sudden. They know they can come in by the fire department down here and then straight out through Mitchellville and go out that way. And just, there's usually no cops around here. So they come booking it through here. I mean, just flying. I went to pull out 2 days ago. Got to the end of the driveway and started to pull out, and I just started going, and dude come hauling butt down this road. I mean, and then there was another one coming down the other way booking it at the same time as I was getting ready to pull out. I just threw it in reverse real quick and backed up and honked at both of them. Of course, the one arrogant prick just honked back at me and kept going as the speed he was going. Now, I'll go 60 or 70 miles an hour up and down this road occasionally, usually when I'm working on a vehicle and I'm trying to test it out, give it a good run to make sure everything's going to hold and work like it should. I'll run like that one time, like once up and once back. And I mean, and I don't even do that all the time. Usually I know the fix is good and I don't have to do the running up and down the road. But occasionally it'll be something that I want to test something out just to see, and I'll haul butt down the road. But that's on very rare occasion. These people all day, every day now are up and down this road like it's a racetrack. And of course, the roads suck. I don't know why they're hauling butt down them like that, because there's all kinds of potholes and everything in them, because it's not just the average Joe that lives around here that's speeding up and down these roads. It's also the big trucks that don't want to get out there and have to hit the truck scales. They're trying to get around them by coming through here and going out the 65 the back way. But they're tearing the road up to no end. I mean, there's potholes like crazy. The traffic has almost doubled. That's not what this is about, though. Basically, this is all still about the truck. The other stuff just irritates me when I see it, and I just saw it a couple times already. But when I got this truck, the pillar over there, the pillar had the little, I call them old shit handles. But it's got the grab handle on it, and of course, it was busted. I tried to order another A-pillar plastic, and there was only 2 places online that I could get them. Both of them were on Amazon, because I was trying to keep everything original like it was when I got it. And that pillar, both of these, is the beige color or tan. They call it taupe, which that's not what I call taupe, but okay. I ordered one for like $60 something, and it came in, it was gray. So I messaged the guy back, no, I want my money back, and I'll return this to you. This is not what I ordered. And they proceeded to tell me, well, Dodge doesn't make the A-pillars in taupe anymore. You have to buy the slate gray and put that spray paint on it. I'm like, oh, I got an issue with that. We're not going to do that. I said, you just give me my money back and I'll send you this other one. Found the other one on Amazon, put it in, fits perfect, bolted right up, nice and sturdy. No danger of it falling apart. My wife actually has to use that to get in because this truck doesn't have running boards on it. So that's really the only thing she's got to help her get her short butt up in this truck. And it doesn't even set up that high. But, it's only got 17-inch wheels on it. And no suspension lift or body lift or anything else. But she's still got to use that handle. And pretty much jump to get in the truck. But yeah, it's I don't know, overabundance of cheap plastic is my main concern with the interior, especially since the only place you can get the replacement parts is aftermarket. Now, some of the aftermarket is still reasonable, and I love that, but it's also hard to find. You really got to dig to find what you want for this truck. So, overall, if I were to give it like a 1 out of 10, a 1 out of 10, this would probably get comparing it to all other trucks that I've owned or had anything to do with, I'd probably put this about a 5, 5.5, maybe 6, maybe. And that's mostly because of the Cummins motor. Like I said, I've not had a single problem out of it. Of course, I haven't done the first oil change yet either. That's going to hurt. I know that's going to hurt because that's $100 just for oil, and that's not anything else. That's just the oil, because it's 7 gallons of oil for this thing. So, or that's what I'm told. I still haven't seen anything that says any different, so that's what I was going by. Which I don't see that, being that this is a 6-cylinder. And the 8 cylinders only take 4.5 to 5 gallons. That doesn't make any sense to me. But then I pop the hood and get to looking, and the doggone block is like 5 feet tall by itself, and it kind of makes a little more sense at the time when I see that of it being 7 gallons. But anyway, yeah, I figured I'd do a little review on this. I mean, like I said, I don't have a problem with the way the truck runs at all. So far, I don't have a problem with the way it drives. The mileage, I'm doing excellent on. This thing is averaging 22.5 miles to the gallon the way I drive it, and I'm not easy with it. I don't go romping on it and just trying to burn the tires off the rims at every turn. Of course, this doesn't have a tune or anything on it either. It's completely stock, with the exception of the K&N air filter. I haven't seen anything else on this truck that's modded at all yet. I do know a lot of things I'd like to mod, because it's not gutless, but it's only for pulling. There's no speed to any of this. And I kind of like to go fast too. It just takes me a while to get there doing it with this truck. Of course, it wasn't meant to speed. It's meant to pull. And I haven't used it for that yet at all. I got a feeling it's just going to just overwhelm me with the way it does with a trailer hooked to the back of it with something heavy on it. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know when that's going to be. I have no real plans of towing anything anytime soon. So, I do actually need to tow that green 4x4 out of here. But I'll have to get it loaded on the trailer and pull it around in the yard with my white Escalade, because it's all-wheel drive and I won't have to worry about it getting stuck. This thing gets stuck at the first sign of water. That's another reason I'm wanting to buy some more aggressive tires. But I'm not really driving the white Escalade right now either, because it's got, like everything else, it's decided just all at once to stop, because GM from the factory puts wheel bearings on those trucks where the back side of the wheel bearing is actually open to the air. Why you would do that on a truck that might potentially go off-road into the mud, I have no idea. But that's the worst thing they could have possibly done. The backs of the bearings on my white truck, all-wheel drive, my wife's gray all-wheel drive EXT, and on my blue one, the SUV, were all open bearings. Now, knowing that they were open and they didn't have any grease in them when I took them off, I'm replacing them with the sealed back bearings. They cost a little bit more, but I won't have to worry about getting dirt into the bearings and it pushing the grease out and then eventually just rotting the bearings out. So every one of them, I'm waiting on the two sets of bearings to come in for the EXTs right now. Should be here in a couple days, and then those will all have sealed bearings on it. The blue one's already got sealed bearings on it, so my wife's actually gone in it right now to see my son and my new grandbaby. But yeah, both of the EXTs will have sealed bearings on it, and we won't have to worry about that anymore. I did get to looking at the rear wheels. Of course, they're all sealed up, so the rear wheels aren't going to be an issue at all. I wasn't really sure how they were set up, so I went and did a little research and found out how they were hooked up, and they're completely sealed up, so there's not going to be an issue with the back at all. Now, I am replacing all of them, both of the front bearings on every one of these Escalades because of the open back bearings. That, and when you replace bearings, you're supposed to replace them both at the same time. I haven't done the second bearing on the blue Escalade yet, but it's just because I haven't had 2 minutes to rub together to get back over to my neighbor's shop, and I'm not doing it here in this mud. The white Escalade, that one kind of threw me because I had no clue what was going on with that one. And I listened to my neighbor tell me, well, that's your wheel speed sensors that causes the traction control and the ABS light to come on. While that may be the case, what's actually messing up on that truck is the bearings. And I figured that out when I got working on the blue one. And then I went back and looked at the white one, and it's got kind of the same issue. So replacing the wheel speed sensor on the white truck isn't going to do jack. I bought those for nothing. The new bearings that are coming in that have the sealed back on them, like I said, they were a little more expensive, but I won't have that issue again, so they're worth the extra money. But they come with brand new wheel speed sensors on them as well. So all I've got to do is wait a couple days for them to come in, and then I'll be able to get to repair. Start spending more time over at my neighbor's, and I hate that they don't just stay together for a while. I mean, of course, they're machine. You use them and they're gonna screw up. Doesn't matter. That's just the way they are. But anyway, I've rattled on long enough. But like I said, long and short of it, I hate these trucks the way they're built. But I love that Cummins motor. If any other manufacturer would wrap their truck around that Cummins motor. I mean, I know Nissan has one, but it's kind of a throttled down and watered down version. I think it's actually a V8 even, like the Duramax and the Powder Stroke are. But yeah, if anybody else would wrap their truck around this Cummins motor, that'd be a hit. And if Dodge would actually make parts for this hunk of crap longer than they have, that would be a blessing. That'd be a huge help for a lot of people. I see a lot of Dodges rolling around here. Of course, I always have. People here, for some reason, love the Dodges. Of course, I see more of them parked with parts yanked off of them than I do going down the road. People around here also love Chevrolets. And occasionally you got your Ford wits. People that, although drives Fords, and they'll be quick to give you all kinds of crap if you challenge them on why they drive a Ford hunk of crap. Now, I'm going to be honest about the Fords for a second, too. Because my neighbor happens to have two of them. My daughter's boyfriend, the middle daughter, I think the one that he's got is either a 6'4" or a 6'7". I don't remember which. And it's a nice looking truck. They were here for Christmas with it. I mean, it's a nice looking truck. He's got it decked out with a nice beefy brush guard on the front of it and decent looking wheels and all that good jazz, but it's a Ford. There's only two Ford motors. If I ever had to own a Ford, there's only two motors that I would allow in the vehicle I purchased. And it'd probably have to be a truck because of it. One of them is the straight 6 300. I've seen those motors do some really amazing things, and they last fairly decent, especially for Ford. Buddy of mine growing up had a straight 6 300 in a full-size Ford Ranger, a 78 I think it was. And of course his parents bought it for him, but it was a hunk of crap. He just did crap brown. He hated the truck from the start until he got out, and of course it was only two-wheel drive. He wanted a four-wheel drive, and they weren't going to buy him one. So they bought him the two-wheel drive, automatic, straight 6 300 Ranger. And he took it out to where we used to go mud bogging all the time on the weekends and such. And he was keeping up with a lot of the people that were going through a lot of those mud holes. And him only with the two-wheel drive truck. He did get stuck occasionally, but it wasn't very often because he was smart about how he drove. But that straight 6 300 just took the torture. I mean, even him going through mud holes with it and just hauling butt down the road, it stood up. And because of that, and the one that my dad had that lasted for almost 300,000 miles, I'll acknowledge that that's a decent motor. The only other one that I would acknowledge as a decent motor is a 7.3 liter diesel. Now, my neighbor behind me has got two of them. Not really sure. I think the second truck he got was kind of a package deal with truck and trailer. He got a better deal if he bought both, so he bought both. His is only two-wheel drive. The second one's only two-wheel drive. I think he's at a 97. And his original one is a four-wheel drive, and it's a 93, I want to say. But they're both 7.3 liter diesel. And while he's had to fix on them, that's the Ford part. The actual running part of 7.3, they just go. I follow a guy online on YouTube, D-Max Rhino, guy named Ryan, and his 7.3 liter. Of course, he uses it for work. He just hauls stuff with it and just drives it normal around town. And it's never given him a minute's trouble. But it's a Ford. So he's had to have that in to work on it body-wise and some of the grounds and things like that. Nothing major with the motor. Now, unfortunately, people that own the 6-liter diesel, the 6.2, the 6.4, all of them usually have all kinds of issues with the motors. Not the transmissions, just the motors. So because of that fact, I've taken the stance that if I were ever forced to have a Ford, if that's the only option I had, it would have to be one with a 7.3 liter diesel or a straight 6 300 in a regular gasoline motor. Aside from that, I'll figure out another way to get around. Personally, I don't like Ford, so just the way they put their stuff together, it's garbage. So I would never actually purchase a Ford. And after buying this Dodge, I'll never buy another Dodge either. This one I actually had to see it because my dad's had 3 of them. No, 96 and 2005. No, he's had 2 of them. And he loved them to death. I can't stand the way this truck's built. Motor, beautiful. Not a problem in the world. Everything it's wrapped around, no. You can keep it. Now, I do like this one being a mega cab and having all the room in the back of it. But aside from that, that's it. My fascination ends right there. Now, GM, I love them trucks. People have called me stupid before for it, but that's what I've had the best luck with. Parts are all over the place for them. 9 times out of 10, you don't need them. So, even these Escalades, they're basically just, mine and her Escalades are the EXT, which is basically just like Cadillac's version of the Avalanche. And they just go. Both of them have a 6-liter LQ9 motor in them. And so far, we've had hers a year. And I've had mine for 3, almost 4, yeah. And the only thing I've done is change the oil and keep it cleaned up. Keep the fluids and everything else topped off. Not giving me a minute's trouble. Nothing leaks. And of course now the bearings are going out in it, but that's nothing to do with the way the truck was actually built. As far as the running part of it goes, it's a top. There's nothing better. And I'm seeing that with a lot of people that have the GM 6-liter. They just go. They're good trucks. They're good work trucks. But somebody doesn't know how to put bearings on a truck, evidently, because that's the first time I've ever seen a vehicle made with open back bearings on it. That was ridiculous. But we'll correct that here in a couple of days when the new ones come in with the sealed backs on them. And then I'll never have that issue again. But anyway, that's the long and short of my video. I hope it wasn't too awful boring. If you got other opinions or questions or comments that you like, go ahead and put them in the comment section below. I do read every one of them, and I do respond to every one of them. I do thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and you have a great day. We'll see you in the next one.